Well, welcome, and we're going to continue the thought in choosing a development language. And in this session, we're going to talk about one of the more popular ones. Why should you choose to learn Java? We're not going to spend too much time on the cons in these next couple of episodes. We're going to talk about the pros. What is it that make it valuable for you to learn these technologies and languages that we're going to talk about? So this episode, we're going to focus on Java. Now, Java, it's about 25 years old as I'm recording this. It more or less showed up in the mid-90s and in an alpha and a beta, and then eventually got released. But even at this point, it remains one of the top 3 languages worldwide. It has been for many, many years. And this is based on a couple of different technology surveys that go out every year, but you can find, particularly if you go to some of the sites that are used quite a bit, then you will see technical type sites that you will have seen and used at some point. If you've Googled anything technical, you can actually, and even on those sites, or just Google, why is this, or what is the most popular language, or anything along those lines, development language trends, you're going to find Java's right at the top. Has been for quite a while, although yes, it has dropped a little bit in the last couple of years depending on where you look, but that's another language. So with it being one of the top 3 languages, that makes it something that means there's a lot of people out there that know it, and more importantly probably that use it. Now, one of the great things about Java, about learning Java, particularly if you are either new to programming or you've had a very, we'll say, focused programming experience. For example, you could be somebody that's been coding for 5, 10, 15 years and really always done web applications. Maybe you've never built an API. Maybe you've never done mobile, never built any kind of desktop or console application. That is a legitimate career path. You could be in something where you just haven't done it. So whether you're new or whether you have been around a while, one of the benefits of Java is that you can build any type of application. You can build a console, or also known as a headless type application, like a utility type script or application. You can build a GUI or desktop, whatever your desktop happens to be, whether it is a Mac or Windows or Linux. You can do web applications. And you can do various types of web applications. You can build your APIs. You can connect to APIs. You can build on mobile devices, just about every mobile device out there, including there is actually, I think, this is one of those things we'll have to go double check it's actually live, but there is even a micro edition that's available out there. It's one of those that's not used very often now, but again, that's part of the things about being 25 plus years old. There are older versions of Java that are actually useful to some extent. It varies depending on what your market is. However, it's out there. And you can definitely do mobile even on the modern devices, such as your iPhone or whatever your latest Android is, among others. And then it's cross-platform. Which is something where you don't have to be on Windows, you don't have to be on Mac, you don't have to be on Unix, whatever it is. You can write and then you can run it on different operating systems because it is an interpreted language, which that in itself, there is a benefit to being interpreted versus compiled, because interpreted languages they do seem to be easier to learn, because you don't have to be in the middle of a debugger session to be able to understand how it is processing your code, how it's accessing variables, how it's adjusting values to those variables, things like that are, I think, very key to becoming a solid developer and not somebody that just knows a little bit about the code for whatever that given language is. Now, I mentioned the cross-platform. One of the things that got Java on the map, that made it a big deal, is the idea of write once, run anywhere. Now, it isn't 100% there, but for the most part, the code that you write in Java, you can, and let's step back, if you look at all these different platforms and targets, you can use the same code over and over and over again. The code that you write for a headless application probably will work without change, depending on what it is, depends on what resources you're accessing and things like that, because you do have different security models and permission models. But if it's functional, if it's a POJO, a plain old Java object, like for example, let's say you write a customer storing manipulating class. That thing can run whether it's a console application, whether it is on a web app, whether it's mobile. You can take that code and you don't have to change it, and you can put it somewhere else. Now, if you get into hardware specific things, yes, obviously, if you're manipulating a mobile phone and you're on a web application, well, it doesn't have access to the mobile phone stuff, so it's going to be different. But generally speaking, you write your code once and you can run it anywhere you want. And there is literally Java code that I wrote 20 years ago that still is more or less being used in code that I use today, because you solve the problem and you can just keep using that code. You can also see that in some of their libraries, that stuff has been around for a long time. And actually, in some cases, the problem the code solved isn't even needed anymore because of the advances in language. The language now takes care of said problem. I mentioned the size and the extent of Java. There's a lot. As a number, top 3 language in the world, that is a lot of developers. And quite a few of them have been around for a while. It's not brand new. Since it's been around for 25 years, there are Java developers with 20 to almost 30 years of experience. And sometimes that is not, 1 year of experience 30 times, but 30 solid years with a lot of deep knowledge. The community has been built and has been fed and has grown every year. So there is a very solid community out there. If you have a problem, if you want to learn, if you need somebody to direct you a little bit, there's a community out there that can help. There are user groups. There are tutorials all over the place. There is education all over the place. There's certifications all over the place. Although it is aged a little bit, there is this thing called the Java tutorials that for a basic Java, and it goes back now several versions. It goes to essentially Java 8, and now we're on, depending on where you're at, Java 19, Java 20. And Java has changed. However, you can go back to those tutorials and you can get really solid in the Java language knowledge and experience, and even applications that you can put together, because it's done that well. And it sort of grew up with the early Java, which made it more or less like developer driven. So in the world of languages and being able to learn them, I think that is one of the best examples out there of how to build knowledge examples and true useful learning, not referential, but learning type documentation for a language. So it is excellent for learning programming basics all the way through advanced topics. You have simple things like looping structures and breaks and IO and some things like that you see in language after language after language, and logical expressions and all of that. It all exists. You can sort of do functional based programming in Java, although it's really object oriented, and you can get into some very advanced object oriented topics and approaches and problem solving, because it's interpreted and because it can do things like reflection, where you can build your own class on the fly. There's things like that you can do. There is, we talked about APIs. There is networking stuff. There is security and cryptography, and you name it, there's some Java out there that does it. So it is an excellent place to grow your programming and developer skills. Another bonus, it's free. It is free and readily available. You can download it. Most operating systems have it built in from the start. If you type Java on a command line, it's going to try to do something. There is a thing called Eclipse. There's Visual Studio Code, and there's some others out there, IntelliJ, among others, that are full-featured, really nice integrated development environments that will help you learn the language. They will help you embrace some of the tools, and makes it pretty easy to get things done along the way as well. There are, as I mentioned, there's certifications. There are boot camps. And probably more important than anything, there are jobs all over the place. There are a lot of markets that are very heavily very Java-centric. There are some other areas you'll find that there is not as much. Depends on what your town, city, country, and line of work, because there's some industries that use it more than others. And there is very, very varied uses of the newer stuff versus the older stuff. And then there's a lot of frameworks out there that you can actually go into framework specifications, such as Spring or things like that. But if you want to have something that is going to pay you back, that is a good investment, Java is a safe one. If you know Java, if you're a solid Java developer, you can find a job. Whether you need projects or whether you are trying to be a salaried employee or whether you're trying to do consulting, there are opportunities out there. So it makes it very much worth your while to invest not only in like a foundation of knowledge, but also to understand the tools and the libraries and the frameworks and use those for more advanced problem solving with this language. If you're interested, this is one of the languages we have spent a lot of time. We came out of Java development way back. So you can check out some of our YouTube videos. There's other ones out there. We go through a lot of Java-specific problem solving. We talk about some of the various versions over the years, been to some of the conferences and some of the things that came out of those. We use there are a lot of Java examples that we used for various problems that we've solved over the years. There's also the start of, and depending on when you hear this, we're working on a boot camp at school.developerpreneur.com that is it's a boot camp, but it's also got an a la carte type of approach. So you can come in, you can pick a couple of special topics that you want to, you can go deep in those, and you don't have to sign up for the whole thing. There's also some free material out there, and you can also see there's a little bit out in our podcast, but more likely you're going to want to check out the stuff on the YouTube videos and the developerpreneur.com site, some of the old blog articles. We've got some great examples out there, including a lot of getting started kind of material. So if you're trying to figure out what you want to do, we have a lot of introductory type things out there to get you started, get you a development environment going, an IDE set up, connect to a database, and do all of the things that, let's face it, true developers really want to do. Thank you for your time, and hope we'll see you again soon. Well, hello, this is Rob with Developreneur, also known as Building Better Developers. Wanted to announce that we have school.developerpreneur.com. Feel free to check it out if you like any of this information, any of the content that we've sent, and you would like to see more. You can come out, you can enroll for free. We have free courses. We've got places for you to get better at just learning a technology, our how-tos. You can work on your business skills. We can help you with becoming a better developer, as in coding and things like that. A lot of the stuff you've seen on YouTube, we also have out at school.developerpreneur. We just have it in a little more of a educational format and a way for you to track your progress as you move forward becoming a better developer.